Alright, what's going guys? Jeff here, back again with another video. Today we want to talk about one of the greatest entertainment deal in the decade. We're talking about Netflix. Because Netflix just made its boldest move in entertainment history. They agreed to buy Warner Brothers, Discovery Studio, and HBO assets, meaning that Netflix will now potentially control Harry Potter, Batman, Game of Thrones, all the different IPs that HBO actually holds. Now, this only happened if the regulators continue and proceed with a yes. And Donald Trump has already come out to say that he wants to get involved in some capacity, calling the deal a problem. So today, let's break down what this takeover really means, what's at stake for the market, why Trump is jumping in, and the bigger investment takeaway that you really want to be looking out for. Now, what's actually in this deal is that Netflix is thinking about paying over $70 billion for the crown jewels of Warner Brothers. We're talking about the movie studios, the TV studios, and HBO entire premium catalog. Okay, we're not talking about the cable empire that they had, the CNN and the legacy networks. Okay, we just want the premium IP, the good stuff, right? Now, if this goes through, Netflix stop being just a streaming platform, as a lot of people already don't treat Netflix as such. They become this super studio. They would own content, they would control production, they would distribute it globally, and the vertical integration effectively, right, is at Hollywood's final boss level, right? It's the final thing. And this also essentially means that Netflix has this instant scale that's happening right now because HBO Max subscriber get merged into Netflix ecosystem, giving them more than 30% of US streaming share right out the gate. And when one player crosses the threshold, regulators are kind of like this sleeper agent, right? They just, oh my god, 30%, we're here. We have to control this thing. It's not going to be a monopoly, right? With a bigger scale means more pricing power. There's going to be stronger bargaining power with talent and partners, and the ability to keep the best content exclusively behind one gigantic paywall. Now, there's also a great debate about theatrical windows. Will Netflix shorten the cinema run and funnel everything into streaming faster, which is the whole debate of how people are thinking that how movie theaters are going to be dying out because Netflix constantly are giving us newer stuff to watch, be it movies, shows, even the older catalogs. You basically have endless things to watch if you are on Netflix as it is. Or would they actually keep at the big blockbuster window to protect revenue? Now, Hollywood right now, as it is really, really angry. Let's be honest, because your directors, your writers, your talents, your unions, all of them are calling this a huge disaster. And honestly speaking, cinemas are terrified, right? Because when one company owns this much IP, everyone gets to become a tenant in their universe. And what Netflix is doing here is effectively very close to a monopoly. Now, let's talk about why Trump wants to insert himself into this deal, right? Because on the surface, let's be honest, it's just antitrust. A combined market share above 30% triggers a formal review, and Trump is already signaling that he don't like where this is going. He says that the deal could be a problem, and he will be involved in the outcome. Now, underneath all this, of course, there's going to be politics and power, let's be honest. What doesn't? Paramount, which lost the bidding war, has the deep ties to Trump-aligned donors. Now, Hollywood creatives hate consolidation and would cheer him for blocking this. And Trump has history here, right? Because his administration fought the AT&T and Time Warner merger all the way through federal court. He understands the political theater of taking on the big media. And with how well Trump is media trained, it doesn't come as a surprise that he wants to get involved anyway, as how his personality has been all the time. Now, if he frames this as oh, Netflix is becoming way too powerful, let's be honest, it's going to be a really, really easy populist win for him. Because who is going to say, oh no, Trump, you're wrong. Netflix should just buy over everything. No one's going to say that, right? So let's talk about how the market's going to react in general, because the market reaction right now tells you exactly how serious this whole entire thing seems to be. Warner Bros. Actually jumped on the takeover premium. Netflix, on the other hand, it fell. The merger funds are actually pricing in the risk that the deal might not even close, to be honest. And this risk shows up in the spread between Warner's stock price and the implied value of the offer. The wider the spread, the less confident the market is. So, what actually happens from here on out? There are going to be three possible outcomes that we have to be looked at. First scenario is that the deals get approved, and maybe with some mild restriction, Netflix becomes this dominant global entertainment platform, which, let's be honest, it already is. And Warner shareholders basically just celebrate on this huge payday, right? Great, you got a good payday. Smaller players like your Paramount Plus and Peacock, they're gonna suffer, right? Cinemas and licensing partners lose out leverage because they would lose a lot of bargaining power when they are doing any sort of deals with people on Netflix side. Now, scenario number two, the deal is approved but with heavy conditions. I think forced divestiture, yes, licensing commitments, I'm thinking possibly so, and even carve-outs for certain markets. But effectively, Netflix is still gonna win, right? Because the upside is capped, and regulators just get this new template on how to restrict big media going forward. Now, scenario three, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, right? The deal gets blocked and Warner stock drops back down. Right now, it's at an elevated price because everyone is thinking the deal might go through. And then Netflix will kind of see this relief bounce because, let's be honest, the market don't like it. They don't like that Netflix is going through with this purchase, which is why there's a small dip in the market. But the bigger message is that mega media consolidation is dead. That's basically the message that's going to be put out. This is going to reshape how investors value companies like your Disney, like your Amazon Prime, like your Apple TV Plus, effectively any future M&A ideas in entertainment in general. Now let's talk about the investment takeaway on how this can be looked at, right? The deal is not just about the subscribers, but let's be honest, it is. But let's take subscribers out of it for now. We're talking about intellectual property, IP, right? IP that's going to behave like perpetual money machine. If you remember how Spider-Man was for Sony and Marvel, it's going to be the same for all the other IPs. We're going to talk about Harry Potter, the DC universe, Game of Thrones universe, HBO entire prestige library. And especially in an era of AI, gaming, theme parks, life experience, a lot of people are spending money on experiences. I think all your global franchising, global merchandising, owning IP right now is effectively getting the blueprint for infinite future content. And let's be honest, right? Looking at how Disney has done for Disneyland, for example, if Netflix wants to go ahead with this, they can create a hell of a theme park with all the different IP they have under their belt. So, second takeaway, streaming is becoming this idea that consolidate really, really quickly, right? Standalone subscale platforms are going to be running out of oxygen. They're being suffocated out of a lot of decision. Someone is either gonna get bought out or squeezed out. So we're gonna see a lot of Chapter 11's bankruptcy, or they're gonna just be taken over if they are even seen as anywhere near to being a threat. The third takeaway is that political and regulatory risk is now a permanent variable in media investing. So if this deal gets blocked, that tells you that a new era of antitrust enforcement is real, nothing to really play with. If this passes, it signals to you that there is a green light for tech and media combination everywhere. So this is what I'm going to be watching out for the next couple of weeks as I'm looking into the news. Number one, I'm going to be looking at the DOJ, the Department of Justice. I want to see if there are any early comments on this competitive landscape, if they're going to be giving us any news about it. Number two is whether Netflix offers any concession before the regulators even prompt the Netflix deal side. And number three is going to be how wide the deal spread becomes, because that's the market fear gauge. Effectively, just looking at like polling markets and things like that, you can kind of see where the spread actually works out. And lastly, whether Trump actually wants to push for a formal intervention, or if the threat alone of Trump wanting to intervene is enough to reshape the whole entire deal on its own. Now, this is one of the most important media deals of the decade, as I talked about at the start of the video, because I think that if Netflix do get HBO and Warner, the entire entertainment ecosystem changes. And I feel that we are going to be stuck paying inflated prices to Netflix for a longer period of time. But then again, I think that there's been a lot of argument for the other side, saying that it's good that we are finally getting some consolidation on media outlets, rather than having to subscribe to 20 different streaming services in order for you to watch everything, just like how it was back in the cable times. So yeah, let me know what you think. Would you pay more for this Netflix plus HBO super app that might even take over more streaming platforms in the future if this goes through? And what do you think this deal should go through or not? By the way, that's all I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.